everyone, this is Sheila Butler from Successful Women Talk. I want to say thanks for joining me today. We are here with guest Mindy Lockard. Now, Mindy is the founder of Mindy Lockard Graceful Living, and a very interesting website, a lot about etiquette, and we all need that in the world that we're in today with text messaging and Facebook and all of those fun things, and just learn a little bit more about her story. So help me in welcoming Mindy.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I am excited to have you here. Why don't we first start with, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got started in business?
Absolutely. Well, one of the first questions people usually ask me is, do people still teach etiquette, and what causes someone to do this? Yes, people still teach etiquette, and I'm one of them. I am a mother of two. I have a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old, and when my 9-year-old was 3 months, I think like most moms do, I looked at my baby and I thought, what do I want to give her? You want to give your children the world, and confidence was one of the biggest things for me. And from how I was raised, manners and etiquette and confidence kind of go hand in hand. When we feel like we know what to do in situations, we have a tendency to be a little more gracious with ourselves. And so I put together an idea. I pitched it to my husband, a little chicken scratch business plan. He agreed to it, and I attended the Protocol School of Washington in Portland, Maine, and the rest is history. So it's been a crazy, wonderful journey. I started doing manners classes for children in the back of restaurants, and I now write international social media content around etiquette for companies. So it's been a wonderful journey.
I love that. And if I'm not mistaken, I read on your website that you learned etiquette from your parents as a small child, and you were fascinated by that. And so it seems to me that you're actually living your dream now. I mean, this seems like a dream come true for you.
I would say yes. There's manners and there's etiquette. And Letitia Baldridge, who was Jackie Kennedy's social secretary, says that manners are our heart and etiquette comes from our minds. And I would say that I was raised not necessarily with the emphasis of the fork per se, but it was very important to my mother that we treated other people, that we treated adults, that we treated our friends kindly. And so I was raised with that as the foundation. But it wasn't really until I went to the Protocol School of Washington that I was able to set a very formal table. So,
well, listen, I still can't set a formal table. I'm from West Texas, and although I don't have that formal etiquette training, I'm like you. I learned manners from an early age, and I'm trying to teach my boys to be the same way. I think it's important. I think it's important to say thank you and please and just be kind in general. Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
Thank you.
So let me ask you, so we talk about true etiquette training. Now, what do you do about an adult? So I guess you train adults as well, because not everybody gets it. Not everybody has that personality or the ability to have great manners. So what do you do with adults?
Well, I say that etiquette is a journey and gracious living is a journey, not a destination. So to be honest, I do the same thing with adults that I do with children. The content isn't different, just our social situations are. So the eye contact, the handshaking, the conversation skills. You have conversation skills for a playground and you have conversation skills for networking. And really, they're relatively the same. The content's just a little bit different. And so, for the most part, what I do with adults is I put them and we simulate networking type of situations, interview type of situations, and we get their feet wet because, if I ask a room of 100 people how many people love networking, I'm going to get about 8 hands. So, that idea of what it takes to have confidence in all social situations, having things that we say really well, being able to remember names, getting over some of those fears that we have socially and just get out there. It's pretty easy, and it's not rocket science, but it does definitely take some thought.
That's interesting that you said that, because I would think that I know like formal networking is probably not as fun to people, but I think that networking in general, to me, it's easy because I'm a conversationalist. I've never met a stranger, But I would think that most people don't mind chatting. I would think it'd be more than at least half the class, but you said it's not.
No, people see small talk as either trivial or awkward. So it's one thing if you're networking with a group that you know and it's people that you may not engage with on a daily basis, but when people go to situations, whether they're traveling or they're new to business or they've never had to actually get out and do lunches or chambers or any sort of networking in their community, it is awkward. It's awkward to meet someone and then what do you say? What's your favorite food? Your favorite color? You don't kind of dive into some of those more personal questions, or you shouldn't. So
I was listening to someone the other day and they were talking about how important small talk is even on social networks, because small talk leads to big things. But some people are afraid to do small talk in social networks. Do you see the same thing?
Absolutely. And I think that there's a fear of what to say. There's the awkward pause where your mind is spinning with another question, ask another question. The other thing is a lot of people just don't want to engage in it. They see it as trivial or something that's a waste of their time. But like you said, small talk is that social building block. You have to learn someone's name to be able to communicate with them. You cannot avoid someone because of their name if you ever want to network with them at all. So a name is important. Having a few basic details about them is going to help you to strike up a conversation with them again, or to figure out how do your networks work together. A lot of times people think networking is so corporate, but really what it is if you think of it as a visual, it's a net that catches us when we need something, socially or professionally. And so how well woven your net is and how many fibers you have in your net is going to be how secure you are when you need something and need to call on somebody.
I love that, the visual of that. I think that's terrific. Hey, let me ask you, let's say that you're going to an event. Are there any tips, maybe 3 tips that you would give someone on making them be a little bit more comfortable? I know like remembering names is hard for me. So you have any little tips?
I do.
I knew you would.
So I tell people to think about the 3 Ps. So you plan, prepare, participate.
Okay.
Plan well. Plan to arrive 10 minutes before the event starts or you want to be there, because you will not arrive to a room present if you were running in rain, if you had to find change for parking, if your hair's a mess, you're disheveled, all of those things set us back. Other people may not notice, but we get that crazy mental game going, and it takes us a while to be present. So plan to be there, know your parking, have your map done, all of those things that can absorb our mental energy. Prepare. So know who's going to be at this event. The internet, as you said, can keep us from being social sometimes, but on other times, it's some of our best resources for research. So know the event that you're going to, know who's going to be there, know who some of those players are so that you can set some goals for yourself. So you can say, okay, I see that there's 3 members on the board. They have similar interests to me. I'm going to try to talk to these people. So set goals. I'm going to remember 3 names tonight, and I'm going to have 3 people to follow up with. Simple. Secondly, walk in, step to the right, and survey the room. It's called working a room. It's work. And so if you go in with the idea that you're going to work, you're a step ahead. Look around the room, see where you want to go. You go to the right, and then you survey the room, and you work it counterclockwise. So most everything in etiquette and manners starts on the right. So we enter our chair from the right. We drive on the right side of the road. Same is true when you look. Your name tag's on the right. Exactly. So when you shake hands, your line of sight goes up. So same is true when networking. So just think to be moving to the right. You want to work the entire room, mingling with people, talking with people. And remember that you're there to meet and greet, not meet and eat. Sometimes it's so easy to go straight for the food table and load up a plate, and that ties up 2 of your best networking tools, which are your mouth and your hands. So eat a little something before you go, get a glass of water, but plan to be there to actually meet other people and to network and to build that your social and professional arsenal.
I love that. Another thing I've heard from people is don't have your cell phone out emailing and doing all those other things that we do, because that's kind of telling someone, I don't want to see you.
Yeah. Well, what it communicates to people, this face-to-face is and will always be the most important thing that we can do. The people in our presence are always the most important. When you have another person here, or 500 people in your contacts list here, what it communicates to people is, yeah, you're important, but there might be somebody more important about ready to come in, so I'm just waiting. and so that, that what it communicates to people non-verbally is you're not actually that important. And what I always tell my clients is people will remember, they won't remember how witty or funny or exactly what you said, but what they always remember is how they felt in your presence. So you may not tell them you're not important, but by looking at if you were on your phone the whole time or just kept checking it to see, they're going to remember how that made them feel, and it won't have made them feel as important as you probably could.
I agree. Some people go, but I can do that and listen, I can multitask. I don't believe, maybe some people can. I don't think it's the best thing out there, but I think people need to know that you care about what they're saying. You're not spending hours and hours and hours there. It may just be just interact. Get to know someone. And
you can do it well. You can tweet, text, take a call. You can do all of that well. And congratulations. But the person standing in front of you won't care, because what it communicates to them is you're not important. And so put it away. You have a lot of time to multitask. But when you're in the presence of someone else, multitasking is inappropriate.
I agree.
That's appropriate. Now, I'm a mom, you're a mom. I do have to have my sitter when I'm out. I do have to be on call, if my child gets sick or gets hurt. And so I do tell people that, I'll say, oh, I'm checking to see if my sitter has called. Or, if you sit down to a lunch and you are expecting an important call, to say, you know what, I may be getting a call from someone. I'm going to take it for a couple minutes and I'll be back.
And excuse so that
communication. People don't know. People don't know what you're doing, and they automatically assume that you're communicating what you had for dinner.
I agree. I love that. I think that's a terrific point, because I'm the same way. I may have to look at my phone. I'll usually say, "Excuse me, I need to make sure it's not my sitter or whatever." I think those are great points. And if you need to be on the phone, excuse yourself from the table instead of taking the call right there in the restaurant with everyone else around. It's not extremely professional.
It's just rude. It's just, it's like you would not think to invite the person sitting at the table next to you and turn your back to everyone to have a conversation with them. And that's essentially what you're doing to people when you take a call. So excuse yourself. It's better for you, the person on the phone, and the people at the table with you.
I agree. And what's funny is this almost seems silly that you have to say these things, but some people really need it. They really don't get it.
Well, and I think that we've forgotten. I think that a lot of times social media kind of bombarded our lives before really, there is no social media in Emily Post's etiquette. It just happened for us. And so I think social graces are catching up. Unfortunately, people's feelings and their brands are being misrepresented because we haven't stopped to think, when I work with people on their branding, etiquette and our personal brands have so much to do with, they go together. You may have your logo for your company, but your personal brand and how you live that out is important. And our brands are tarnished by not thinking and pausing to say, probably not a good idea. I could, but I probably shouldn't.
I agree. And it's funny because the previous business that I owned, we had several employees, customer service employees in-house. And we finally, as we took new employees on, we always did a phone etiquette training to show you that, in my opinion, you should answer the phone with a smile on your face. It's going to change the way you approach the customer on the phone, especially if there's somebody that's mad about something. And it's just different. Don't let the phone ring more than 3 times. Answer the phone with a smile. Say yes, please, and thank you. I just believe all of that is really important for your business, for your brand, and just in general.
No, I absolutely. And I think that, they say that good manners are common sense, and that's all that they are. But what I found is that good sense isn't always common. And so communication's everything. So let's say it and think about it, not pointing it out and saying, oh, you're right, my neighbor does that, or my mom does that. Well, let's look at ourselves and say, okay, maybe I'm really good at answering the phone with a smile, but what are other things that I can do in my life to just elevate how I treat other people?
And written communication as well, because we did the same thing with email training is don't do everything in all caps. Be sure you try and use good grammar, although it doesn't have to be perfect. I get that. But when we set up email templates for certain things, just to cut out some of those human errors and to, it just makes it easier because some people don't get it.
Well, I think that and this is what I do with my clients when we go through our branding, is pause for a minute and think about, when people see you coming, what words do you think come into their mind? When you see the Starbucks logo, obviously coffee comes into mind, expensive, those are some things that people tell me. Well, when people see you walking down the street, what are words that you hope come to their minds? And that right there is your brand. And so what etiquettes do you use? What manners do you use on a daily basis to carry that out? There was a study done by Harvard University, the Stanford Research Institute, and the Carnegie Foundation that says 15% of the reason a person gets a job and keeps a job is related to their technical skills, and 85% has to do with their people skills. So that 85% is a really big deal, and that all has to do with the manner in which we connect with other people.
I agree with that 100%. I would always hire and always will hire personality versus technical. I mean, in general, everybody that I'm going to interview probably has the basic technical skills, but not all of them have this the personal skills, which are extremely important anytime you're dealing with a customer, which if you're in business, you're dealing with a customer usually.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let me ask you this. This is a little bit off course of business, but with the world of technology, and you have kiddos, I have kiddos, where do you think you see kids don't talk anymore? I mean, parents and kids text each other from the same room. One's in a chair, one's on the sofa. So where do you see etiquette and manners, all of that going with the way we are with technology? I love technology, but I want to make sure that I'm raising my boys as I should. Where do you see that going?
Well, I still believe in the power of face-to-face. And, I work with a lot of college and university students who are looking at getting a job. And unless their parents have taught them what it means to make eye contact, to answer questions, to smile and not look sour. I mean, just some basic things. And this is training. You cannot tell your child when they're graduating from college, oh, by the way, you should make eye contact and look at somebody when you have an interview. These are skills that are built over time. So I could not do my job or my business without social media. It's a huge part of what I do, and I hope my children take over the business and it will be a part of their lives. However, they also need to be able to connect with people on a face-to-face basis. So it's like anything else. There's a balancing act, and as parents, we are the ones who teach them that. Parents should not be texting their children across the table. I've heard moms say, well, I talk teenager, so that means I text my child. Well, that's great, but at some point your teenager is going to have to learn how to talk to an adult. For the majority of their life, they will be an adult talking to an adult. So why not teach them now how to communicate with you? We are the dress rehearsal for the way that our children will encounter the world. And so we have to put it as a priority. Even if it's easier to text them or they throw a fit, we are in charge of helping them. And that I found that students are hungry for this information. So it's okay for you to feel uncomfortable or your teen to feel uncomfortable, or sometimes they might go through withdrawals without their technology, but it is good for them to be able to feel comfortable face to face.
I like that. It's funny because I agree with what you're saying. I get on my boys all the time about making good eye contact. When someone says hello to you, you say hello back. All of those things that I think are important. But what I found is, I think everything that I know, I've learned at running a business, I can learn it from my kids. Okay, so the same thing is, I have to tell my employees the same thing. When you're dealing with a customer, make sure you look at them eye to eye. You want to smile and be personable. It's funny that I guess they didn't learn that when they were young, or they've forgotten, like you said. Makes it challenging. Being in the work environment, dealing with etiquette and manners sometimes is just a little bit challenging when someone wasn't taught that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that it's going back, we're all selfish individuals. And I find that with, even with parenting, whether you're parenting a child or you're helping an employee, finding common ground that will impact their life. So putting it into perspective for them. When you make good eye contact with someone, this is what you will get back. You can't just say, please make eye contact because it's a company policy. That doesn't mean anything.
Nor does it work.
No, it doesn't. So make good eye contact because this is how it will benefit you in your career. This is what it makes people feel like when you give eye contact. And this is how it will impact your job. And what that does is that's when the light bulb goes on and they say, oh, I don't want people to feel like I don't care or that I'm not listening. Or how do you feel when other people don't make eye contact with you? It feels kind of, it's uncomfortable. So those kind of conversations are helpful.
I like that. And you know what I found? That sometimes people aren't even aware that that's the perception that they give off. They don't even know that people have that thought of them.
No, it's true. In fact, when I do my branding seminar, I was in a dentist's office, and I had all of his staff of 30 there, and I asked them to draw their logo of what they want to be seen as. And I would say 90% of the room drew sunshines. They thought that their brand was sunny. And I had to say to them, ladies, you are the roughest crowd I've ever talked in front of. Not one of you has smiled. No one has said anything when I've asked a question. This is not a sunny disposition. But we become disconnected with the encounters that other people have with us. And so this reset of saying, how do I want to be seen? And what actions do I have to put into place to have other people see me that way? Because you can be as sunny as you want to be. But if you're grumpy,
I have a visual in my head of them holding up their sunnies and you holding up a rain cloud. That's all I can picture. I can see it now. Here's what I see of you, really.
That's what it was. I mean, it's like, you're not sunny.
You don't want to be the rain cloud. Nobody wants to be around the rain cloud.
That's right.
And, I had this one employee. She was a really good employee, and I don't think she really understood how negative she seemed to people. Mm-hmm. And, we talked about it, but she didn't get it. So we finally, once she understood that people perceived her that way, she was really hurt by that. But boy, did she start to grow and become a much better person and friendlier. And based on that, she made more friends, and the customers liked her more. It was just a big process for her. I think I've lost you.
No, can you see me?
I can see you now.
Okay. No, I think that that's true. And I think that a lot of time, can you see me?
I can now.
Okay. And I think that it's not about hurting other people's feelings when you're in leadership, but it's helping people grow. And somewhere along the line as a culture, we became afraid of failure. We're so afraid of showing somebody else that there could be failure, or you experiencing failure. And I find this with a lot of millennials, this younger population whose parents, they got a trophy for
showing up.
Everything. Everyone on the soccer team got a trophy. And what it is, I say it, it's not, it's not about the fall. It's about how we get back up. And so it's about telling people, that exact thing. You want to be sunny. but you have to smile if that's what you want. And this is what other people see you as, and walking people through that process. Because what I found is most people want to be gracious and kind. They just need to remember how it's done.
Absolutely. I love that. This has been wonderful. And I think so many little tips and nuggets that people can take back to their businesses, to their home lives, etc. Hey, listen, if someone wanted to touch base with you, where would you like to send them?
Well, I'm kind of across the web, but pretty much under The Gracious Girl. So I'm on Facebook under The Gracious Girl. You can find me on Twitter under The Gracious Girl. And I also have a blog and website at thegraciousgirl.net.
Terrific. Mindy, I appreciate your time. This has been a great conversation, and I thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye. Okay, that's our show, and thanks again for tuning in. Hey, I have a huge favor. I'd like for you to join us over at www.successfulwomentalk.com. Join our email list, and on that list, you'll be a VIP. You'll be receiving all of our newest updates, newest interviews, our newsletter, and any tips and tricks we have for organizing your business and getting raving fans and customers that actually just sing your praises. So again, thanks again for tuning in. Check us out next week for another episode of SuccessfulWomenTalk.com. Thanks, guys.